do here,
Yeah.
this is a full plate.
It's funny. I don't really look. I didn't look at it like that before. But when it's right there in front of you, it really does.
It stands out.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So when we're not feeling well, when somebody is not feeling well, especially somebody in recovery, especially, and life starts hitting, and especially you're talking about 2 deaths in less than 3 weeks, amongst all the other things that come up in life, it's exhausting. It's a little overwhelming when you're doing all these things. So usually what I suggest is that when you're not feeling well, or when life hits, and you've got a lot going on, in order to stop, or before you start becoming overwhelmed, you have to start making your day simpler.
When you say simpler, do you mean cutting these things out, or do you mean shortening the exercises of the day? I guess, instead of, I talk to 3 or 4 of my friends in recovery every day. Are you saying I should cut that out, or maybe talk to 1 or 2 of my friends and start lightening up that way?
Okay. Look at your plate and see what's in there that you could do without. At least one thing that you could do without doing every single day.
The one I just brought up, the calls, because I'm calling, besides talking to my sponsees every day, I'm making those 3 other 4 calls, whatever, to just guys in recovery, just to say hello. So I could shorten those.
When you say shorten them, do you mean stop them, or you mean shorten the time that you're talking to them?
It means instead of talking to 4 people a day, I could talk to 2 people.
Okay. That'll work.
Let me think about this for a moment. I guess, I tend to get tied up in little things. Even the dog park. I always go there and I wait till it's dark, and I've been there a while. I guess I could spend a little less time there. Instead of like an hour and change, I could do it for a half hour, and I'm sure the little guys wouldn't mind so terribly if that was the case.
Okay. What about maybe not every day? Just while you're not feeling well. When we lose somebody, have you heard of the grieving process? Are you familiar with the Elizabeth Kubler grieving process?
Yeah, no, I know there's like 5 different or 7 different stages you go through or something like that.
Yes, and it's a period of time for grieving. It could be 6 months, it could be a year, it could be 2 years. Each person's different, each grieving process is different, but while you're going through the grieving process, it takes a lot out of you. So my suggestion, when you're not feeling well, if you're sick, if you're just having a bad week, if you're having a tough time with grieving, then my suggestion is to look at your daily routine and see what you don't have to do every day.
Let me ask you something. I mean, this kind of sounds to me like trying to add more balance in my life.
That's exactly it.
Are you suggesting, and just so I got it right, the more that I'm dealing with in terms of my plate being full, not just with my actions, but my plate being full with circumstances around me when I have traumatic situations going on, or just other situations, maybe cut down on some of these things.
The activities
until I'm feeling better about it, and I can increase that marginally again as I'm feeling better.
That's absolutely what I'm talking about. Exactly. Because you're going through a lot of emotional things right now. Your feelings, your thoughts. It's overwhelming.
It makes sense. Because there are times during the day when I just stop for a second and I'm already feeling exhausted. Mm-hmm. And I haven't even done as much as I know I'm going to end up doing.
Or what you're used to doing on a regular basis.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try that.
Whenever something's going on, whenever you're not feeling well, you could always look at a plate and say, wait a minute, my plate is kind of full. I'm used to doing this much on a regular basis, but I don't need to do that much today.
It helps to write it down like that because it's very easy to say my plate is full, and conceivably that could be just one thing is very heavy, and considering that my plate being full. By looking at it that way and see the different areas, you can ease that out a little bit easier.
Okay.
You know, by taking one or two things. Okay.
Okay. So let us do one more thing. Are you up to that?
Yeah.
Okay. Take one of these. We call them a coping card. Okay, it's an index card.
Right.
And on this index card, again, I like to use the permanent marker, black, so it stands out. Look at your list of things that you do. And write down the most important things that you have to do every day on there.
Am I listing all of them, or am I listing like 5 or 6 of them?
5, whatever it is that you have to do every day.
Okay. The praying is critical. Mm-hmm. Medication is critical.
You mentioned that your daily meditations keep you centered, or they get you centered.
When I actually, yes, I kind of do those together. When I talk about praying, I'm talking about the praying and the meditation, so that's probably, I should write that down that way, because it's important. I need to call my sponsor. I do have to go to work. Exercise is important, but I don't have to exercise 7 times a week.
Okay.
So I could do exercise. That is important to me, but maybe cutting that down may not be a
How
bad
many
idea.
times a week would be good?
Maybe 3.
Okay, why don't you put that down on there, 3 times a week.
Okay. I think meetings are critical.
Okay. Do you need to go to the 2 meetings a day?
No, I really don't. I go to meetings for different reasons, and I really don't, because a lot of times I'm sitting in the meeting, at least if it's the second meeting of the day, thinking there's other stuff I could be doing, and I feel comfortable enough going to 1 meeting a day.
Okay, and remember, you could increase this when things start calming down in your life.
And just the idea of actually looking to adjust these things and shorten or get smaller portions on the plate is actually very helpful.
You know, the other thing, and I'm sure you've heard this, as people in recovery, addicts go to extremes with everything. So there's the extreme of not going to meetings and the extreme of going to 2-3 meetings a day.
Or you go to 1 meeting.
Right, so this is where, being in recovery 3 years now, it might be time for you to start looking at some balance. Okay. So this is a good opportunity for you.
Maybe I could only go to Publix 3 times a week instead of daily.
Okay.
I still want to talk to my sponsees, but I could make these short check-in calls rather than the lengthy discussions they tend to be. And especially, they're lengthy and more difficult when I'm feeling the stress over there.
And you could be specific with them and set those boundaries. Let them know, for a while, I just need to have you check in. While I'm going through all this, just give me a call, check in. We may not have a long conversation. We'll get back to our conversations on a regular basis.
That's a good idea. Bit better. Okay, yeah, I like that, actually. Okay.
And what else? Anything else?
That's it. I mean, I've just did several things here.
Okay.
I think it's reasonable.
Okay. So I'd like you to put that in that folder that I gave you, because this is your folder. You're going to keep this. You're going to take this home with you. I'd like you to try and remember it when you come back to see me. And the reason you're bringing this
Should I bring back the card, too?
Yeah. You know what? The reason why I gave you a folder and you put everything that we do in here, so that when you go home, you have something to look at to remind you.
Something tangible, yeah.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
Because, our goal here, is for you to be fulfilled, have a better life, and for you not to necessarily need to come to therapy every week. I mean, I would love to have you every week, don't get me wrong. But the goal is for you to find independence.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you're saying this, and I hear the boys barking away here. So, all right.
Okay.
That makes sense to me.
Let me think what else. So while you're going through this difficult time, just remember, first of all, you're not alone, as it says on the sign in AA.
I do know that.
You
though.
are not alone.
I know that.
At any time, if you feel uncomfortable, if you feel that you need to talk, you could always call your sponsor. If you need to talk about something, if something's going on, feel free to call me. You have my cell phone number.
Okay.
Okay. Basically, that's it. I mean, is there anything else you'd like to
No,
discuss?
actually, it's actually very helpful. I mean, it's kind of like a blueprint. And I'm that kind of person that I do well with blueprints when I see what I'm supposed to do rather than just going to extremes in 8 different directions, which I tend to do too. So, no, that's good.
Terrific.
All right.
So, should we make an appointment for next week, same time?
Yeah, and let's just gauge that predicated on how I'm doing next week for sure, and then assess the week after that, or 2 weeks after that, or whatever. I mean, just be able to stay focused on how I'm doing. But let's discuss it next week, I would think.
Okay. We'll review it next week.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome. See you next week at this time.
Okay.
Okay, bye.